So this video is actually to walk you through the assignment part 2, absolute value. So here we go. It's only 9 questions. Yay. Okay. So evaluate the following is just a fancy way of saying solve it. Okay. So remember, these goalposts actually mean what is the absolute value of 8? What is the absolute value of -4? Okay. And another way of saying that is, how many hops from 0 is 8 how many hops from 0 is 8 on the number line? Okay. It's 8 hops, right? Cool. How many hops away is -4 from 0 on the number line? Well, I'm sure you can probably figure this out, but just in case, I'm going to draw it for you. Okay, so we have -1, -2, -3, and -4. Okay, so what we're saying is 1, 2, 3, 4 hops total, right? So even though you're going in the negative direction, you are hopping 4 total hops. Okay, it doesn't matter the direction you're going, it's always going to be a positive answer. You're never going to run -4 miles. Okay, even if you run backwards, that's negative. That's not negative, right? So no matter what, your absolute value is always going to be positive. Cool. So here we go. Trying again. How many hops from 0 is 3 on the number line? And how many hops from 0 is -15 on the number line? That's all it's asking. So 3 is 3 hops from 0. -15 is 15 hops from 0 on the number line. Notice they're both positive, correct? Cool. Just slide this over. Okay, here we go. All right, the absolute value of -7. All that means is how many hops is -7 from 0 on the number line? It's 7 hops. What is the absolute value of 14? All that's saying is how many hops from 0 is 14 on the number line? It's 14. Notice some kids, especially later on, once we go over opposites, they're like, so if it's -7, then the answer is 7. But if it's +7, then it's going to be -7. It's not opposites. You're not flipping the sign. Okay. It's not opposites. It's literally always positive. Okay. You will always be positive hops from 0, no matter which direction. Okay. You're not just flipping the sign. And that'll make more sense once we get into the opposites lesson. Here we go. This one looks really weird. Let's figure this out. A restaurant owner has 2 freezers. The temperatures in degrees Celsius for the 2 freezers are shown on the number line. Okay, so one freezer is at -2. The other freezer is at -10. See, this is where 0 is. So this is kind of like a thermometer, right? And it's showing you where it would be on the thermometer. These little things are refrigerators, okay, with the little freezer attached to it. So find the absolute value of the temperature for each freezer. So once again, what's the absolute value of your -2 degrees? How many hops are we from 0? We're 2 hops away, right? How many hops from 0 are we down here at -10? We're going to be 10 hops away. We're going in the negative direction, but we're still 10 hops away. So the absolute value of -10 is 10. Okay, so which freezer is colder? You're basically saying which freezer has a higher absolute value. Which freezer's farther from 0? It's going to be freezer B, right? Much, much colder. All right, here's another real world example. Our little measuring containers here, just like in science class, correct? So a student measured the temperatures in degrees Celsius of two different chemical mixtures for a science fair project. The temperatures for the two mixtures are shown on the number line. Ooh, okay, so this is our science right now. I'm such a nerd. So this is 0, right? Nothing, right? Okay, so if you go in this direction, this mixture actually got on the colder side, right? And this mixture, no, I'm so sorry. This mixture got on the warmer side because it's going in the positive directions, right? This mixture is on the colder side because it's going in the negative direction, right? I mean, you guys know if it's like -1 outside, that's cold. Now, granted, this isn't Celsius, but it's still the same concept, right? The further down you go into the negatives, the colder it's going to be, okay? So find the absolute value of the temperature. So how many hops from 0 is -1? It's 1 hop, right? On the negative side, but it's still 1 hop. How many hops from 0 is 7? Or what's the absolute value of 7? It's 7, right? Which mixture's temperature is closer to 0? Which one's closer to 0? Mixture A is only 1 hop, so it's basically saying which one has the lower absolute value. Cool. Next. Ooh, a bike race goes through a valley and a nearby mountain range. So valleys go down, mountain ranges go up. The altitude, which is just how high up the land is, the altitude in meters relative to sea level for 2 checkpoints in the race are shown on the number line. Okay, good Lord. This makes sense to me, but I'm not sure if all kids would have this as a reference point. So when they say sea level, I'm not sure if y'all know this or not, but like picture the ocean out there. Okay. Scientists consider that 0. Okay. So this is sea level at 0. Anything, any grass, this would be your mountain ranges, right? You have a mountain range. This is going to go above sea level. It's up in the air, right? Above sea level. Yeah. Okay. Now, granted, it doesn't mean that there's always water around, right? If you end up, I don't know if you've ever done this. I know it happens to me when we drive to like Springfield or Branson, whatever. You go through like these major dips as you're driving, and my ears will actually pop. So even though there's no water around, I can tell that my car is driving down in a valley and going way down below. Okay. So there's not actually water there, but I know I'm below sea level because of that difference in the air pressure. Okay. So I'm hoping that gives you a little bit of reference of what the heck they're talking about. Okay. So, anywho, here you are at sea level, right? They're saying, ooh, someone went up a mountain, right? And this guy ended up going down into a valley as he was on his bike. Okay. So anyway, a positive altitude gives a distance above sea level, and then a negative altitude gives a distance below sea level. Yep, that's what I just said. Okay. So find the absolute value of the altitude for each checkpoint. So what's the absolute value if you end up going up 33 degrees? Well, it's the same thing. You're still just 33 hops from 0 or 33 hops from sea level, right? Checkpoint B, when they were actually dipping down into a valley, right? They were at -26. So that's that way to show your absolute value, right? Is with these goalposts. So how far were they from sea level, or how far were they from 0 on a number line? They're 26 hops, or you could even say 26 meters in this situation, right? So which checkpoint is farther from sea level? Another way of saying this is which checkpoint has a higher absolute value. So checkpoint A is further from sea level. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Continue. All right. Find all the numbers whose absolute value is 4. This one throws kids off. Okay. So pay close attention. All right. all numbers that have the absolute value of 4. So we're looking for 4. Okay, it's going to equal 4. If there is more than one, separate them with commas. If there are no such numbers, click none. So would -4 have the absolute value, of 4? Is that a true statement? Yeah, right? So I could say -4, right, for show. Okay. What else? Would a +4 have an absolute value of 4? Is that a true statement? Yeah. So again, I can click and say 4. That's definitely going to give me an absolute value of 4. Okay. Continuing on. Same thing here. Find all the numbers whose absolute value is 8. Okay, so again, if I have the absolute value, of -8, is that going to get me 8? Absolutely. What's the absolute value of +8? It's still 8. Okay, because no matter which one you're trying to find your answer, your absolute value is always positive. Okay, so both of these numbers are going to have an absolute value of 8. Okay, and moving right along, last problem. Find all the numbers whose absolute value is -9. Again, you guys, -9. That's the absolute value that I want. So if I have -9, am I going to get an absolute value of -9? Is this a true statement? No. Why is this not a true statement? Would the absolute value of -9 give me -9? No. Why? Because absolute value is always a positive amount, right? So even if I said 9, it's the absolute value of 9, would I get -9 as my absolute value? No, because absolute value is always a positive amount. You're always going 9 hops away from 0, whether you're going to the left or the right on the number line. So when they say, if there are no such numbers, click the none, this is an example of it. It is not possible to get an absolute value of -9 because absolute value is always positive. Cool. So I'm glad we got that example out of the way. And that is your assignment.